Hey everybody, if you've been paying attention, this is the very last original paint knucklehead I have. And the only part on this machine I haven't documented so far are these Murphy grips. Now, it has come to my attention that possibly Murphy made tens of thousands of these back in the day, and they're not around today. They're just not around. So my personal theory is, if he did this, which we're still trying to figure out, because we haven't been able to find any ads yet. Any ads, zero. And I'll explain what possibly happened in a minute. My personal theory is, this is the beginning of plastics when Murphy made these grips. The very beginning. Plastics were invented in the very late part of the 1920s, 28, 29. Bakelite starts evolving into a natural plastic. And so we have an early pseudo plastic, we'll call it plastic for lack of another term, that Murphy was using in his early days trying to become a manufacturer. We have some interesting articles we're going to read to you in a minute. So what I have as of this venture, as of this moment, because this bike could sell tomorrow, don't know, but when it goes, I'm not making more videos. This bike, it's gone. It's gone. It's gone forever. I'll never see it again, neither anybody else. So my personal theory is that the plastic was so weak, grips are probably the fastest, highest wear point on any machine. And these were called mushroom groups for a reason. They're soft. They were actually spongy when they were new. They're hard and cracked now. Well, hard and cracked, as you ride these vibrating machines, disintegrates into nothing and becomes a grip you don't have to replace. You can't even get them off the spirals and put another grip on. You destroy them and get them off. So I'm sure quite a few were taken off bikes in the early days of, it has to be by the catalog AMCA restorations. They were just destroyed, and that old crack grip isn't going to look good on a new restoration anyways. So it's got to go. They're gone. They were destroyed. So what we have here, now I don't know when he made these. Every bit of evidence I can dig up so far points to these Murphy grips being on pre-war bikes. I have never heard of anybody finding them on a post-war bike that was an original paint. If it was not original paint, then that's where they came from. People built bikes out of parts for decades. It was just junk stuff in the junkyard. So those don't count. Nice high-end original paint bikes that have been sitting around forever, they count. All the ones that I know that have nice grips like this, they haven't been ridden for decades. This bike hasn't been started since at least 1971, and the grips are beautiful. Gee, imagine that. So I have a couple other samples here I'm going to show you. I only have one of the stainless grips. This here, I'll get behind the camera so I can see what I'm doing. This here is the stainless version. They made chrome, same thing, and it says Murphy right there. I know of at least one guy in Japan who's got a whole box of these things. They're old stock, won't sell them. And these here, I got a fly bugging around me, are new old stock red ones here. Same man was willing to trade me for these, and you can see they are now very hard, but we're soft plastic, so you have to heat them up, boil them, or you're going to crack them when you get them on your bike, which we'll show you a sample of later. These are the red smooth ones. I don't know if these are post-war or pre-war. I have no for sure documentation. So if I say it's immediate post-war, I'm taking a guess. That's my guess. It's just an educated guess, but that's all it is. I don't know. These are definitely pre-war. I'm going to prove to you. And everybody sees these on panheads, and we haven't found any on that I'm aware of. I couldn't find any when I called around on a pre-war knucklehead. The only thing I found were Murphy mushrooms. So we're going to show you what I have been able to find. I put up a call, these photos, let me borrow your grips. Nothing. Really difficult just to get a photo. So let me grab this little camera here. And we'll get you up close. Oops, nothing stays on flat surfaces, I guess, around here. And get you up close of Greeny's grips here. So again, these have literally air pockets. So what do you think when somebody rides a machine like this and the vibration starts happening? This will just disintegrate. There go the beautiful grips on Greeny. Everybody's like, why don't you ride it? It's like, dude, I don't want to destroy it. Fuck you. Go buy your own fucking motorcycle. You can ride that. Just beautiful. Beautiful condition. But again, this bike has not been on the road since 1971 or earlier. You know, how do I know that? Well, if you've been paying attention to other videos, I told you how. That's another story. Right now we're concentrating on Murphy grips. So let me go over to the TV here. And we're going to read a little article about Mr. Murphy. Now, Massey Bick was nice enough to send me this for posterity. Now, why am I making this? Well, I'm damn near 60 years old now, and I'm the young boys. I'm one of the youngsters. What happens when all us old guys die? All this shit will be lost. So I'm trying to put up what I can, and to interest that you young kids that are 20, by the time you're my age, your kids and their kids will have access to this. Otherwise, it's going to be gone, and you'll never see it. You'll never find it. So, this here is Mr. David Murphy when he was a youngster. Now, this is, as far as I can date it, there's no actual date on here. Oh, here it is. Boy, I didn't see that earlier. My eyes are getting bad. Thursday, October 17th, 1940. Okay, so tail end of 1940. Wow. Okay, we found the date. I was looking at that. But here it is. He created his own job. And then you're like, whoa, it's 1940. What happened to the Great Depression? We're still in it. You got to understand, we're still in it. There's places in the United States that didn't get out of the Great Depression until 10 years past World War II. Literally people selling their kids on the street for money because they're that fucking broke in the 50s. It's been documented. Sorry, look it up. Look it up. There's a thing called Google. It's a fact. So, everybody's screaming for jobs. We're starving. So, headline, he created his job. He didn't ask for one. It was a big thing. David Murphy operates own plastic plant, turning out large numbers of motorcycle grips. Now, you can see all the grips in the back, but that doesn't make, tens of thousands. And here's a mushroom grip on his little lathe. David Murphy is shown in the foreground operating his plastic molding press, which operates under a pressure of 10,000 pounds per square inch, photo by Bill's Camera Store. I'm going to raise this up so I can read it here, so give me a second. It's the only way I could get this, or I could really read this for you guys here. Move it around a little bit. Now, it says 1,000 pair of plastic grips. That's the way orders come in. Mason City this is Mason City, Iowa, guys, turns hobby into a job when he can't find one. Now, this is really important what it says. 1,000 pair of plastic grips as per your letter. That is the way orders are coming in to David M. Murphy of Mason City, who did not find his job but made it. The story of his entrance into the manufacturing business is not only the success story of this young Mason Cityan, the son of Dr. and Mrs. F.G. Murphy of Mason City, but is also the story of a new industry that's come of age within the past decade, namely plastics. Within the last decade, plastics are brand new. They're everywhere now. There was a time didn't happen. There was no plastic. Wasn't. Mr. Murphy's line is motorcycle hand grips made of DuPont and Eastman plastics to replace the ordinary ones made of rubber. It could have been any of several other lines in the plastics industry for all the major industries outside of armament and allied lines. The plastic industry has shown the most rapid growth of any within the past 10 years. Now read into this. Outside of the major industries of armament and allied lines, we're getting ready for fucking war, man. Europe's on fire. We're just waiting for the call. FDR is already sending everything over to Europe with no numbers, has been for a couple of years, with no numbers except for men. Executive orders. Zap, 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 send it over. Help them guys. The Lend-Lease program didn't happen till later. Flashback to Mr. Murphy, however, and you would have found him only a few years ago delivering papers for the Mason City Globe-Gazette. Throughout his high school and junior college days, however, he showed an interest in mechanical constructive work, which culminated in his taking a special course at the Harley-Davidson Manufacturing Company in Milwaukee 2 years ago. So in 38, he goes to Harley for training. He makes contacts. You know what you could do with contacts? You slip your little advertising little blurb, little piece of paper, into your bi-monthly mailing into the Harley enthusiast or parts accessory catalog, and that promptly gets lost. I suspect that's how he actually did his real advertising. Send it to everybody because he had a contact in Harley. That's a suspicion, because I've seen this, the same type of advertising I'm telling you about happened in the 1980s when I started my shop. We'd get this. If it happened in the 80s, you think it didn't happen then? With little blurbs I found, like here's a staple, you can't get this, you can't get that, here's a staple on Harley Davidson order forms? Of course it did. Stop. Of course it did. So, let me continue. At that time, he conceived the idea of making more satisfactory hand grips for motorcycles, grips that would not deteriorate with age and exposure to perspiration or grease. He experimented with various plastic materials and a homemade device which proved satisfactory so far as the finished product was concerned, but was too slow and tedious in its operation. Mr. Murphy soon found that one of the main difficulties in working with plastics is the necessity of subjecting the material to pressure of 10,000 pounds per square inch. The equipment for such work is expensive, and information regarding the working of this material is difficult to obtain. Why is that? Plastic is brand new. Nobody knew what the hell they were doing. That's why. So let me see if I can drop this down and read the rest to you. Give me a second. Come on. Back up there. Okay. Hopefully that's good. Get up there and see if I can read it. Okay. Mr. Murphy soon found that one of the main difficulties in working with plastics, read that, okay, Mason City's young manufacturer found the DuPont company cooperative, however, and with information and material samples supplied by this company, made a small press and turned out approximately 500 hand grips in his basement workshop. In contact with the plant, Mr. Murphy observed the large commercial injecting type pressing in operation for the first time when he attended the New York World's Fair in 1939 maybe? Pretty sure that's 39. It's 3 something. Their presses cost from $10,000 upwards and would turn out motorcycle hand grips at a rate of $1,200 per hour compared to $2 per hour for the Mason City plant. Upon returning to his home, Mr. Murphy purchased a large turret lathe at Albert Lou. After several months of experimenting, he succeeded in converting it into a service of plastic injection and increased his production in motorcycle hand grips per hour. It looks like 40 motorcycle hand grips per hour. Through publicity in the Motorcyclist, and again, you didn't have to necessarily buy an ad in the paper. You could pay them for an insert. Maybe he had an insert, I don't know. He obviously sold them. How the fuck did he sell them? By going hand to hand, door to door to motorcycle shops in Mason City, Iowa? No, that didn't happen. So, through publicity of the Motorcyclist, official publication of the American Motorcycle Association, orders began coming in from all parts of the United States and the Panama Canal Zone. One supply house jobber in New York City ordered 5,400. Now remember, you're wholesaling out to other companies. CCI didn't make the stuff. Gary Bang didn't make the stuff. V-Twin Cycle doesn't make the stuff. They have somebody else make the stuff, and they just simply bump up the price. Drag Specialties don't make their stuff. None of those companies make their stuff. Same thing back then. Same thing in the teens. They didn't make it. They had somebody else make it, and they marketed it for them. Hand grips in black, white, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red were turned out. They proved resistant to salt and arid and are practically unbreakable, it looks like. Mr. Murphy something advertisements in magazines and found out that he soon, let me see if I can find the rest of it. Really hard to read this. Hopefully that's that on the side. Yep, here it is. He needed a helper to assist in the manufacture of these hand grips. In time, Mr. Murphy may enlarge his plant again, but not only may motorcycle hand grips be made of plastics, but steering wheels, shift balls, screwdriver handles, gun stocks, radio something, tops, and 1,000 or more other items. It's not much of a success story yet, Mr. Murphy, said Mr. Murphy, but someday I hope it will be. That's what it takes to make a job, and none is to be found. He made his job. So I called up Tom Faber, I've known for decades. He says, what you got? He says, I ain't got a fucking thing. He says, you have no idea how much advertising they got from fucking everywhere. And I've never found an ad for these grips. I don't know how he sold them. Massey Bick dug this up, I don't know where. And he's so enthused about Murphy grips, he says he names his kid Murphy. But that's what we got so far. I'm gonna read his obituary and show you some other pictures. So let me pull that up. Now remember, this is 1940, October 17th, 1940. Now this is his obituary. Al D. Burr, a friend and associate of Murphy's for more than 40 years, spoke with their co-founding of Naiad Manufacturers Group. There's not enough positive adjectives to cover the wideness of this man's kindness, combined with a strong sense of self-reliance, fairness, and humor, said De Boer. I don't know of anyone in the immediate region that has done so many diverse things, and he did so many things that people never knew. Over and over, those who knew Murphy said they had just spoken or worked with him on some project, finding it difficult to believe that would not happen again. Like Ernie Zerbel. I can't help but think he'll be swinging by tomorrow and be headed towards some meeting or other. I lost a good friend, and so did the whole community. He was something special. Flip the page. They missed some of this. This is just something I found online. This is obituary. Still being used in parks, so something made still being used in parks, Zerbel said. From humble beginnings, Murphy went on to found David Manufacturing, a grain drying and handling equipment manufacturer in 1966. 66. So that is 26 years later. He finally makes enough money and founds his manufacturing company. Murphy was chairman of the Mason City Foundation, elected member of the Parks and Recreation Board. He was a member of the Noon Rotary and Toastmaster Clubs and the Mason City Historical Society. Now, some of you guys out in Mason City, Iowa, you might go visit these places and see if you can dig up some more information on Mr. Murphy. It's probably there. North Iowa area community college students benefited from one of Murphy's dreams when Murphy Manufacturing Technology Centers opened its stores in '98. The center idea had been started 2 years earlier with what was called a substantial donation by Murphy and his wife Phyllis. He played a key role at the center. David Butner, NIACC president, just last week, the college hosted an economic development industrial prospect, and a tour of the center affected the prospect exactly as David thought it would. He was a bit of a tiger when he got hold of an idea he wanted to see happen, Butner said. David was a real doer in the community. He not only had ideas, but also his tenacity to see those ideas through. Murphy's philanthropic donations to area organizations and charities, in addition to NIACC, included major gifts for the development of the Guinea Pioneer Museum, Music Man Square project, the Humane Society of North Iowa, the purchase of a facility, and a recent $10,000 to the Noon Rotary, and a parcel of undeveloped land along the Winnebago River to the city. Land is now known as Murphy Park. Such a humble man, but a very person-oriented individual, said Carl Miller, executive director of the Mason City Foundation, adding that David and Phyllis Murphy are a marvelous team, probably the bedrock of getting the Kinney Pioneer Museum started. Kinney Pioneer Museum, there might be information about Mr. Murphy there too. Murphy also built a reputation as a painter of signs. Miller said Murphy donated his painting talents for private and public events, recently completing a sign for Marjorie's Tea House, the historical residence Murphy was in the process of restoring and naming the venture for his only living cousin. So Marjorie's Tea House might have more information for Mr. Murphy. So any of you home detectives out there, here's your leads to go dig up some more info. If I get more info and I still have the bike, I'll make us another video. So let me show you some more pictures. So here we have, this one here is a picture from Matt McManus when he posted a bunch of grips for sale. This is from Gak from Hogholic. Those were in Japan. Here's some other grips. I can't remember who sent me these ones. And a picture of them on the end. And this gentleman here is who sent me the red ones, and he found out the wrong way that if you put the plastic ones on without boiling them, they crack. And there's another red one. This one was actually found this weekend, this past at Oli. And here's some other ones. This was sent to me by Pre-War Nuck on Instagram. Thank you. And then we have a couple others here. Here's an old photo back in the day. You can see the Murphy grip there. This 40 here, this is in Japan now. And it's got Murphy grips on it. And the gentleman there who I've in contact with was nice enough to send me up close pictures on it, off his 40. And there's our article once again. So let me take this back over to Greenie. Now that beautiful 40 hasn't been run in decades. The museum over in North Carolina has a blue, or maybe South Carolina somewhere or other. Sorry, Rick. Rick Allen, Mr. Flying Cloud himself, he's got Elmer, a blue 40, which he hasn't been able to get me pictures yet, but I wanted to make this video now while I have the moment to do it, while I still have the bike. So hopefully I'll get some pictures of Elmer's grips. There's a few other people said they'll send me either grips or photos, and this is what we have yet. So that's not even like 10 people. That's not even 5 people. So we have Elmer's grips. There's a spare grip that just was found on a 45 with a smooth other side, which to me that says the Murphys came first and the smooth was a replacement when the one Murphy grip died. That's what I'm reading into that, because we know the Murphy grips were first. We just showed you the article. There were no smooth ones there. They were all Murphy mushrooms. So we know those were first. We just don't know when the smooth ones came out. Was it later that year in 40? I don't know. And then there is, let me think. There's one loose pair that I know of, and there's a 37 over in Wisconsin area that supposedly has them that I've never been able to get photos of. And there's a white 40 I know of with them on, and that's it. That's all the ones I've ever seen in my entire life. So they're stupid fucking common. So there it is. If you do manage to get a set of these, I highly suggest you do not ride the motorcycle with them. You'll destroy them. But that's that. that's my input, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye bye.